Right now, just days before the 2026 Italian Open, Alexeala is doing something that makes absolutely no sense on paper. While her rivals are desperately grinding for ranking points, she has completely vanished from the WTA Tour. But what looks like a massive scheduling mistake is actually a secret masterclass happening behind closed doors with Rafael Nadal and Iga Swiatek. The entire tennis world is watching everyone else sweat through small tournaments across Europe right now. They are completely missing the biggest and most fascinating story of the entire clay season. Alexeala is the undisputed top player from the Philippines. She is a massive rising star carrying the weight and expectations of an entire nation on her shoulders. After a grueling climb up the rankings, she has just secured a direct spot in the main draw of a WTA 1000 event in Rome. This is a monumental achievement for her career. It is the exact kind of milestone professional players dream about and bleed for years to reach. So naturally, you would expect her to be playing every single practice match possible to prepare. You would fully expect her to be entering the Catalonia Open right now to get her competitive rhythm locked in and secure some easy confidence. Instead, she completely withdrew. She packed her bags and vanished from the competitive circuit right before the most important clay tournament of her entire life. People are genuinely confused. Her massive fan base is starting to worry. To understand why Alexeala sacrificed easy ranking points for total isolation, we have to look at the massive flaw she is desperately trying to fix before Rome. If you only follow the fast-paced action of the US Open or Wimbledon, you really need to understand one brutal truth about the red clay of Rome. It absolutely destroys hard-court players. Entering a WTA 1000 main draw directly is a rare and beautiful privilege, but stepping onto that unforgiving dirt without a proper warm-up tournament is usually considered tactical suicide by every coach on the tour. The surface in Italy is notoriously slow and incredibly heavy. The crushed brick grabs the tennis ball and completely kills the pace of the shot. It completely neutralizes the flat and fast baseline power that aggressive players like Alexeala rely on to win matches on cement courts. You cannot simply hit through a top-tier opponent on red clay. It simply does not work against the best in the world. You have to slide perfectly into every single shot. You have to construct points with agonizing patience. You have to endure brutal physical punishment for hours on end just to win a single set. This is a savage environment that eats young hard-court prospects alive every single year. Entering the main draw directly means Alexeala skips the brutal qualifying rounds. On one hand, this is fantastic news, but on the other hand, it means she will not have 3 relatively easier qualifying matches to get used to the unique and tricky bounce of the dirt. She will immediately face a hardened veteran in the very first round. She will look across the net at someone who has already been grinding on European clay for a month and has their legs fully under them. They will be ready for an absolute war. This is exactly why skipping the Catalonia Open is such an insane gamble for a young player. The conventional wisdom in professional tennis says you desperately need match rhythm before a major event. You need to feel the intense pressure of a real crowd watching your every move. You need to react to a live opponent who is actively trying to destroy your weaknesses. Entering the Rome main draw completely cold creates a massive and terrifying risk of match rust. If she steps onto the stadium court in Italy and her timing is off by just a fraction of a second, she will be sent packing to the locker room in under an hour. Every pundit and casual analyst looks at this bizarre schedule and assumes she is making a massive rookie mistake. They think she is perhaps overwhelmed by the immense pressure of her first huge main draw appearance. They assume she is avoiding the grind because she is simply not ready. They are completely and utterly wrong. She is not resting at all. She is not nursing an injury. She is hiding in plain sight. And what she is doing in that hiding phase is so intensely focused and so highly strategic that it could completely change the entire landscape of the WTA Top 30 by the end of the year. She is deliberately removing herself from the chaos of the minor leagues to prepare for a massive war in the major leagues. We are watching a young talent make a brilliant veteran move. If you are starting to realize just how massive this gamble is, and you want to follow every step of her wild journey to the top, hit the subscribe button right now because we are going deep into the tactical genius of this specific move, and you will absolutely want to be here for the payoff. The stakes have literally never been higher for her young career. So, if she is not playing official matches to prepare, what exactly is happening inside that Spanish academy? Welcome to the concept of training hibernation. Under the ruthless eye of Tony Nadal, Alexeala is not just practicing. She is systematically breaking down her entire hard-court identity. They are forcing her through grueling 14-ball rally drills. This is the exact mathematical threshold needed to survive the physical torture of European clay. Imagine the scene right now in Mallorca. The Spanish sun is beating down on the red dirt. There are no cameras. There are no casual fans cheering in the stands. There is only the brutal, repetitive, echoing sound of a tennis ball exploding off synthetic gut strings. Alexeala is breathing heavily. Her lungs are absolutely burning. Her legs feel like heavy, immovable blocks of lead. And standing across the net, or watching with intense scrutiny from the sideline, is Tony Nadal. He is the mastermind who literally built the greatest clay court player in human history. He is not letting her get away with cheap, fast winners. He is forcing her to suffer. On a standard hard court, a typical rally might last 4 or maybe 5 shots before someone blasts a clean winner into the corner. Clay changes the underlying math of the sport completely. The dirt slows the ball down so drastically that elite defensive players can track down almost any aggressive shot. To win a single point against a top-tier clay court specialist, you must be prepared to hit 14 perfect, incredibly heavy shots in a row. Not 6, not 10, 14. This is a staggering physical demand. It requires a completely different type of cardiovascular endurance. The lactic acid builds up in your thighs until you want to collapse. It requires legs made of pure iron and a mind that refuses to crack under extreme boredom and pain. Alexeala is spending these weeks in total isolation, deliberately building those iron legs. She is punishing her body in practice so severely that the actual high-stakes matches in Rome will feel wonderfully easy by comparison. But they are not just building her aerobic endurance. They are completely reconstructing her mechanical technique from the ground up. If you watch her old tournament footage on cement, she hits the ball incredibly flat. She drives the ball straight through the court with a low, penetrating, aggressive trajectory. That flat shot is a lethal weapon on hard courts. On clay, that exact same flat shot is a massive, unforgivable liability. The heavy dirt grabs a flat ball and causes it to sit up perfectly right in the strike zone of the opponent. Tony Nadal is forcing Alexeala to hit with extreme, looping topspin. She is learning to violently brush up the back of the yellow ball. She is creating massive RPMs that force the ball to dive hard over the net and then explode upward off the dirt, pushing the opponent deep behind the baseline and out of the television frame. This profound mechanical shift takes thousands of agonizing repetitions to finally feel natural. You simply cannot learn to hit heavy topspin while playing competitive matches in a minor tournament. The pressure to win points makes you revert to your old, comfortable habits. You have to lock yourself in a laboratory. You have to hit thousands of balls until your hands literally bleed and your shoulders ache. You have to completely master the clay court slide. Alexeala is learning how to violently sprint toward a wide ball and smoothly glide the last 3 feet, perfectly balancing her forward momentum on the slippery red brick dust. If you misjudge a slide on clay by half an inch, you tear a knee ligament, and your season is over. If you master it, you become an absolute ghost on the court, magically appearing behind every single ball. Rebuilding her footwork is impressive, sure, but the physical training is not actually the secret weapon she is bringing to Rome. It is who she has been sharing the practice court with. Here is the massive revelation that nobody in the mainstream tennis media is putting together. Rome is not the final destination. By spending hours trading ground strokes and high-level tactics with Swiatek and Rafa Nadal himself, Alexeala is orchestrating a brilliant Trojan Horse strategy for the French Open. The entire tennis ecosystem looks at the upcoming Italian Open as the ultimate prize of the month. They see Alexeala skipping the Catalonia Open and immediately assume she is putting all of her chips on Rome. This is a massive, calculated misdirection. The Italian Open is a prestigious WTA 1000 event, yes. It has massive prize money and huge ranking points that could skyrocket her career. But for the fiercely intelligent camp of Alexeala, Rome is just a very expensive, very glamorous practice session. The real prize, the ultimate, shining target of this entire training hibernation phase, is the main draw of Roland Garros in late May. The French Open is the absolute pinnacle of clay court tennis. It is a grueling, soul-crushing 2-week marathon that breaks the spirit of unprepared players. Alexeala knows that to make a deep, historic run in Paris, she needs a level of preparation that no minor WTA 125 tournament can ever provide. This is where the sheer genius of her current geographical location comes into play. The Rafa Nadal Academy is not just a bunch of nice tennis courts for rich kids. Right now, it is the exclusive gathering place for the absolute elite of the sport. Iga Swiatek is the undisputed queen of modern clay court tennis. She is the current world #1. She moves on the dirt like a predator and hits with a vicious, suffocating spin that terrifies her opponents. Rafael Nadal is the literal god of the surface. He has won the French Open an incomprehensible 14 times. Having direct, unfiltered access to these two specific minds is a tactical advantage that money simply cannot buy. Alexeala is not just hitting warm-up balls next to them. She is absorbing their specific champion aura. She is watching exactly how Swiatek breathes and recovers after a missed slide. She is observing the exact angle of Nadal racket face when he is forced to hit a desperate defensive lob on the dead run. This level of elite insider access completely changes the trajectory of a young career. Most players her age are absolutely terrified of the world #1. They freeze up when they see her in the locker room. Alexeala is eating lunch in the same cafeteria and grinding on the practice courts right next to her, matching her intensity stroke for stroke. I am incredibly curious about your take on this specific psychological advantage. Do you think practicing directly with Swiatek and Nadal behind closed doors gives Alexeala a much bigger competitive edge than actually playing official warm-up matches against lower-ranked opponents? Drop your honest opinion down in the comments right now because I want to see if we are on the exact same page about this massive tactical gamble. By refusing to play those exhausting minor tournaments, Alexeala is aggressively protecting her physical battery. The rest of the WTA Tour has been grinding relentlessly through Stuttgart, Madrid, and various smaller European events for weeks. They are currently dealing with severe travel fatigue. They are dealing with lingering jet lag. They are nursing painful micro-tears in their leg muscles. They are emotionally completely exhausted from the brutal, daily pressure of fighting for ranking points to keep their careers alive. They will arrive in Rome feeling like they have already run a violent marathon. Alexeala will arrive in Rome with a completely full tank of gas. She will step onto the courts in Italy with legs that are fresh, bouncy, and lungs that are primed for maximum oxygen capacity. She is flawlessly executing the classic withdraw to win strategy. It is a psychological masterstroke that veterans use. She is letting her opponents beat each other up and exhaust themselves in the early spring clay events. Then she swoops in right at the exact peak of the season, armed with the tactical secrets of Nadal and the explosive footwork of Swiatek. She is specifically using the Italian Open to thoroughly test drive her brand-new topspin engine against tired, stressed opponents. If she loses early in Rome, it honestly does not matter to her master plan. The primary goal is to peak perfectly for Paris. It sounds like a brilliantly crafted theory, but does this withdraw to win strategy actually translate to the scoreboard? To see if this massive gamble will pay off, we just have to look at the data. When we compare her early season clay struggles to her updated topspin RPMs and reduced unforced error rates out of the academy, the math points to a terrifying peak. The concept of taking a strategic break right before a massive tournament is not just a wild theory. It is a beautifully proven formula used by the absolute best athletes in the sport. If you look closely at Carlos Alcaraz or Iga Swiatek during their most dominant stretches on the European dirt, they frequently employ this exact same hibernation tactic. They deliberately disappear from the minor events. They let the media speculate blindly about their absence. Then they suddenly emerge at a massive Masters-level event completely revitalized and absolutely destroy their exhausted opponents. Alexeala is brilliantly copying a championship blueprint. We can actually track the exact effectiveness of this blueprint by looking at the hard numbers from her season. Early in the European clay swing, Alexeala struggled significantly. Her opening matches on the dirt were incredibly frustrating to watch. She was stubbornly hitting the ball with her standard flat trajectory. Because the heavy clay slowed the ball down so much, her aggressive shots were simply sitting up perfectly right in the strike zone of her opponents. Her unforced error count was uncharacteristically high. She was desperately trying to hit violently through the court instead of intelligently playing with the unique geometry of the surface. The math was simply not in her favor, and she was losing matches she should have easily won. But the data leaking out of her private training camp in Spain tells a completely different story today. The revolutions per minute on her forehand side have skyrocketed to an elite level. She is brushing up the back of the ball with a violent, whipping upward motion that creates massive, looping topspin. This mechanical adjustment completely changes how the tennis ball reacts when it finally hits the dirt. Instead of skidding low and comfortably into the racket of her opponent, the ball violently kicks up high and heavy. This action constantly forces her practice partners deep behind the baseline into an awkward defensive posture. Her unforced error rate has plummeted to near zero because she is no longer aiming for the risky painted lines. She is aiming for safe, deep, heavy targets and letting the massive spin do all the aggressive damage. Because you have stayed with me this incredibly deep into the tactical analysis, I want to reward you with a very specific insider metric that you will absolutely not hear anywhere on mainstream sports television. This is the exact technical adjustment that proves she is fully ready to dominate. On a standard fast cement court, Alexeala typically hits her driving ground strokes with a net clearance of about 1 foot. She aims incredibly low to maximize the forward speed of the ball. During this brutal Spanish training block, she has deliberately forced herself to raise that average net clearance to 2.5 feet. She is intentionally hitting the ball a full 1.5 feet higher over the net than she normally does. This might sound like a tiny, insignificant technical detail. It is actually a monumental, game-changing shift. That extra vertical height is exactly what guarantees the massive heavy depth on the clay. It completely eliminates the random risk of hitting the ball into the net during long, grueling rallies. This is the exact micro-level genius that separates a casual young prospect from a legitimate, terrifying tour threat. Now look at the brutal reality of the upcoming Rome draw. The main draw will be completely packed with high-seeded players who are physically and mentally burned out. They have been grinding through exhausting 3-set matches for the last 4 straight weeks. Their legs are heavy, their shoulders are taped up with medical wrap, their patience is completely gone. And silently looming in the dangerous unseeded section of the draw is Alexeala. She has perfectly rested, explosive legs. She has a completely rebuilt, high-clearance topspin forehand. She has the specific tactical blessing of Rafael Nadal. She is a massive, terrifying trap waiting to be sprung in the very first or second round. An exhausted top 20 player is going to draw Alexeala, and they are going to be in for an absolute total nightmare. The physical metrics are there, the tactical blueprint is set, and the rest of the tour is completely exhausted. What we are witnessing right now is not just a player prepping for a single tennis tournament. It is the brilliant evolution of Alexeala from a raw, instinctive talent into a cold, calculated, strategic threat on the WTA Tour. If she can truly conquer the red clay, she becomes completely unplayable everywhere else. Historically speaking, the slow red dirt of Europe has always been the ultimate kryptonite for players emerging from the Asian and Southeast Asian tennis development systems. Those regions traditionally produce brilliant, fast-paced, flat-hitting baseline champions who often look completely lost and frustrated when they finally step onto the unpredictable European dirt. Alexeala is actively and violently rewriting that long-standing regional curse. She is proving to the entire tennis establishment that she absolutely refuses to be neatly categorized as just another hard-court specialist. This level of intense micro-planning shows a massive, unexpected leap in her professional maturity. She is no longer just showing up to tournaments, unpacking her bags, and simply hoping her natural athleticism carries her through the early rounds. She is orchestrating her entire season like a veteran grandmaster playing high-stakes chess. If she proves this week that she can weaponize the dirt, if she proves she can hit heavy topspin and slide perfectly into the defensive corners, her absolute ceiling in the world rankings completely vanishes. She will no longer just be fighting to simply break into the top 30. She will be actively building the complete, all-court game required to confidently challenge for the top 10 and eventually a Grand Slam title. The prestigious Italian Open is going to be the ultimate, unforgiving testing ground for this incredible Spanish experiment. The entire tennis world is about to see exactly what she built in the dark shadows of Mallorca. She is stepping out onto the stadium court to validate the most extreme and fascinating scheduling gamble of her young professional life. Will this ultimate tactical gamble rewrite the entire narrative at the Italian Open? Drop your specific round 1 predictions down in the comments right now so we can see who gets it exactly right. Hit subscribe so you absolutely do not miss our massive deep dive French Open breakdown when she finally brings this masterclass to Paris, and I will see you in the next one.